The movie starts in 2014. After the U.S. economy crashes, a new political group called the New Founding Fathers of America takes control of the government. With strong support from the people, the president creates a new law called the Purge. This law makes all crimes legal once a year for 12 hours at night. During this time, police, fire, and medical help are not available. High-level government officials are protected, and powerful weapons like rocket launchers are not allowed. But everything else, even murder, is legal. The Purge becomes a way for people to release their anger and violent urges, helping them stay calm for the rest of the year. By 2022, crime is almost gone, and unemployment is only 1%. On the day of the 2022 Purge, a man named James is driving home while finishing work calls. He sells security systems made for the Purge, which has made him rich. He lives with his family in a fancy gated neighborhood in Los Angeles. He has blue flowers in his car, and many neighbors also display them in their yards to show support for the Purge. James gets home 1 hour before the Purge starts. His wife, Mary, tells him their daughter Zoe has been upset all day because they won't let her date an older boy. James thinks she needs to stop being dramatic. Meanwhile, Zoe is secretly hanging out in her room with her boyfriend, Henry. When she hears her dad come home, she quickly makes Henry climb out onto the balcony to hide. As they do, they see a neighbor sharpening a machete, getting ready for Purge night. Mary goes outside to put the blue flowers in the yard and is approached by her neighbor Grace. Grace admires the new addition to Mary's home and points out that Mary could afford it because everyone in the neighborhood bought security systems from James. She also says that unlike in previous years, she won't be having a party tonight. When Mary goes back inside, she's startled by something following her, but it's just a creepy toy being controlled by her son Charlie, who likes hiding in a special spot inside the closet wall. He comes out to explain he's updated the toy with night vision and insulated the motor to make it silent. During dinner, the family's bonding is interrupted when Charlie notices there are only 5 minutes left before the Purge begins. James rushes to turn on the security cameras and notices 2 armed neighbors preparing to hunt, which surprises him because those 2 guys aren't even friends. He also sees that Grace is having a party, meaning she lied to Mary to avoid inviting her. After grabbing a gun from his safe, James activates lockdown mode, which seals all doors and windows. The TV switches to the emergency broadcast system, which announces the beginning of the Purge and reminds everyone of the rules. As the neighborhood alarm sounds, Zoe rushes to her room and is suddenly tackled onto her bed by Henry, who sneaked back into the house during dinner. Zoe wants to get intimate, but Henry interrupts their kissing, saying he's come to confront James. The family tries to keep themselves busy as the night goes on. James does paperwork while watching violent footage from the Purge on TV. Charlie plays with his remote control toy, disturbed by the gory images on screen. Mary becomes worried when she hears gunshots nearby, but there's nothing on the cameras. James reassures her it's fine. Minutes later, Charlie checks the cameras through his toy and sees someone running in the streets. He hears the wounded man begging for help. Gunshots can be heard in the distance, so Charlie temporarily disables the security system and quickly opens the front door to let the stranger in. James notices the breach and rushes to reactivate lockdown. The gate starts closing, but the man manages to slide in just in time. When James and Mary see the stranger, James draws his gun. At that moment, Henry comes downstairs and pulls a gun on James, but Mary sees him and warns her husband. Both Henry and James fire. James is unharmed, but Henry is shot. Zoe helps him back to her room, but he is bleeding heavily, and she doesn't know what to do. Meanwhile, James realizes the stranger has disappeared and scolds Charlie for letting him in. He takes Charlie and Mary to the security room. Once they're safe, James goes looking for Zoe and finds Henry dead in her bedroom. In the hallway, the stranger moves unnoticed. Suddenly, Mary hears Zoe calling for her and rushes to her. Zoe is freaking out over her boyfriend's death and insists she didn't know about his intentions. Before Mary can respond, Zoe runs off to hide in shame. At that moment, a group of masked young adults armed with various weapons appear in the yard. When they ring the doorbell, Charlie and his parents check the cameras and see the gang leader removing his mask in front of the front door camera. He knows whose house this is and addresses the family like acquaintances, giving a speech about the Purge and commenting on the blue flowers. The gang is responsible for the stranger's injuries, and the neighbors told them he's hiding in James's house. The leader asks the family to send him out so they can finish purging him, giving them time until their equipment arrives. If the stranger isn't released by then, the gang will break in and kill the family. As the group walks away, the power goes out, and the backup generators turn on to keep the cameras running. Mary asks James if the security system will protect them. He admits it's mostly for show. It discourages casual threats but can't withstand a serious assault. Charlie doesn't want to kick the wounded man out, but James insists they have no choice. Using flashlights, James and Mary split up to look for the man, finding bloodstains throughout the house. Mary is startled by pounding at the gate and hears gang members shouting for the man. In the security room, Charlie watches the gang making obscene gestures at the cameras and playing like children in the garden. Eventually, James finds the stranger in a hallway and tries to catch him but quickly loses sight of him in the dark. Charlie sends out his toy and uses its night vision to find the man hiding behind the living room couch. The stranger is initially creeped out by the toy but eventually follows it. Charlie uses it to guide him to the secret hiding spot in the closet wall. By the time Mary reaches the room, the man has already covered the hole and can't be seen. Suddenly, she is startled by a strange noise in another corridor and goes to investigate. Meanwhile, the gang leader calls for James, asking him to come to the door to talk. James tells him he supports the Purge and intends to hand over the man. He just can't find him. When another gang member complains about the delay, the leader shoots him in the head and reminds James that their equipment will arrive soon to help them break in. Elsewhere, Zoe contacts her brother through the toy, saying she's found a gun and will hide in his secret spot for now. When James resumes his search, he finds the stranger holding Zoe at gunpoint. The man pleads with James to put down his weapon, saying he doesn't deserve to die. As James argues, Mary appears behind them and James tells her to shoot. The stranger lets Zoe go and runs. Zoe hits her head on the wall and falls unconscious. James chases the stranger and tackles him to the ground. They fight, and during the struggle, a gun goes off, wounding the stranger again. Then James grabs a vase and hits the man to knock him out. Minutes later, James and Mary are tying the guy up using tape. When they move him to a chair, the man wakes up and tries to escape again. James immediately grabs him and tells Mary to stab him with the letter opener from the desk. Ignoring Charlie's protests, Mary grabs the opener and inserts it into the man's wound, pushing until he agrees to cooperate. James then puts him on a chair and begins adding more tape, but Mary realizes they're being cruel and announces she can't do this anymore. When she turns around, she notices Charlie is missing and goes looking for him. At the same time, Zoe wakes up and also calls James out for his violent behavior before leaving the room. Seeing this interaction, the stranger tells James to hand him over to the gang to save the kids, but now James feels bad too. While looking for Charlie, Mary notices some lights outside and looks through the window to discover that the gang is tying a truck to the gate using a chain. Mary runs back to her family, and James announces he won't kick the stranger out. He gives Charlie a gun and tells him to hide. Then he and Mary go looking for more weapons so they can get ready to fight. At that moment, the gang leader announces that time is up and yells about serving the need to purge. The truck pulls back and, in just 1 second, completely brings down the protective gate. James and Mary rush to hide while the gang destroys the remaining glass and starts making their way inside. In another room, the stranger falls off his chair to reach the letter opener. The gang walks around the house, sometimes shooting randomly into certain rooms. Charlie hears all the noise and tries to hide further in his room. But a gang member finds him, grabs his wrist before he can shoot, and drags him out of his hiding spot by the hair. When the attacker gets ready to shoot Charlie, James appears behind him and kills him first. Then James hides Charlie in a different room with a new gun. Meanwhile, Zoe hides under a bed and sees someone enter the room. Before he can find her, the leader calls him away to show him a picture of Zoe on the wall and tells him to save her for him. Downstairs, James is startled by another gang member and quickly shoots him down. Then he encounters a couple who dodges bullets. The guy manages to reach James and push him against the wall, but James punches him off. Then he has to dodge axe attacks from the girl, but this distraction is enough for the guy to recover and jump on James again, choking him on the pool table. James grabs a ball and hits the attacker on the head to knock him down. The girl attacks again, but James kills her with a shot. At that moment, the guy hits James with a cue stick and disarms him. Now both men fight for the gun. A desperate James slams the guy's head on a pinball machine until he's dead too. Suddenly, another gang member bursts through the window. James grabs his arm to avoid getting shot. The two fall to the floor and start fighting, rolling until they reach their weapons again. James grabs the axe first, hits the man on the back, and then shoots him just in case. Afterward, he tries to leave the room, only to be cornered and stabbed by the leader, who gently lowers his body to the ground while saying James's soul has been cleansed. He even thanks him for the experience and kisses his forehead before leaving. As the other gang members run around the house destroying things, Charlie watches the security cameras and notices the neighbors gathering outside. 2 gang members are still waiting in the truck, and the neighbors immediately kill them. Meanwhile, Mary continues to move through the house and is suddenly smashed against the wall by a gang woman. A man soon joins and holds Mary down while the woman tortures her with tickling. Then, she takes out a blade, but before she can attack, the neighbors arrive and shoot both gang members down. As Mary gets back up, she hears more gunshots and goes to see what's happening. She finds James bleeding by the stairs. She shouts for her kids, and Charlie runs over, but so does the gang leader. Just as the leader is about to shoot them, Zoe appears and shoots him first. Then she says sorry to her dad before he dies. Right after that, the neighbors show up. They've finished killing the rest of the gang. Grace, one of the neighbors, says the family belongs to them now. The neighbors drag James' body away and try to tie up Mary and the kids. Mary fights back, but stops when they threaten to hurt her children. As they tie her and the kids with tape, Grace explains that the neighbors were angry at James's family for showing off their money made by putting a price on their safety. The neighbors get ready to kill the family, but first they say a prayer for the Purge and for the USA. Suddenly, Charlie's toy rolls into the room, distracting everyone. Then the stranger, still alive, comes back. He punches and shoots some neighbors and grabs Grace as a hostage. He makes everyone drop their weapons and let the family go, then he lets Grace go too. He tells Mary it's her choice now. Grace asks her to end it quickly, but Mary says she doesn't want more violence. She makes everyone sit in the living room and wait for the purge to end. Later, with just a few minutes left, Mary checks on her kids. Grace suddenly tries to grab the gun, but Mary hits her in the face and slams her head on the table. She reminds Grace of their agreement. Right then, a loud alarm goes off. It means the purge is over. Mary kicks everyone out of her house. Soon, police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks can be heard arriving. The radio says this year's purge was the most successful ever, and that weapon and security system sales are booming. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.